Welcome to my humble little office. My name is R. Keith Andrews. The journey continues. Well, that worked out well. My name is R. Keith Andrews. I am a spiritual guide and paranormal adept. The journey continues today on October 5th, 2022 at approximately 1:50 p.m. PST. Well, that started off really well, which gives you an idea as to just exactly how well things are going right now. Yesterday was a little bit of a scramble job, primarily because right at the end of it, I ended up with a phone call that I had to take that had much more to do. And we are going to have a mess today. This is obvious. What do we do here? That should be notify me and be done with that. So let's see that happen. We can tell this is going to be one heck of a mess of a recording, but hey, what do you do with it? Let's see if it actually comes up. And nope, not today. So I've done enough running around in circles there. Every now and again, you end up with a complication. Now, the reality of it is this. Technology and I have always had complications. But yesterday when I was actually online, I got a call that I had to deal with because it had to deal with the books I've been writing. Now, I'm looking at setting your focus. Now, today it is, where are we here? We are right now at 5 to 1. I'm only going to be here for about half an hour. Okay, I can't do anything about the fact I have to be on shift. Okay, but with that in mind, I do apologize for yesterday. I just all of a sudden dumped the call. But the phone call, I dumped the stream because life got in the way. Okay, and ultimately what I'm looking at here. Let's see, what do we got? I'm going to see if I can find out what's going on, which the odds are not good. This is what I get for coming online when I'm just scattered as all get out. And I'm sure you're aware yourself of how that can go sometimes. For me, it just gets a lot more complicated in a lot of cases. And I do not require that. Let us see what this says. And of course, we're not going to have any luck at all today, it would seem. So we'll refresh that and see if that comes in. And no, it's not going to come in either. Okay, well, that's going to go around in circles. Anyway, yesterday I got pulled away without warning from my live stream. Every now and again, things go a little sideways for people. This was just one of them. But I've been having trouble getting focused and figuring out how to handle marketing and that sort of thing. So when the phone call came in yesterday, I had to deal with it right then. As it turned out, I got some real solid direction from them. For the first time that I've talked to anybody about how to make things work, I actually got some information. Okay. This time I'm running into some pretty serious problems. Now, what is this? That is from 4 months ago. That is not what I'm looking for. Okay, let us see what happens if we go there. Refresh that one. Yeah, this was probably a mistake when you think about it. Yeah, pretty much. What is this? Setting, let's see if that works. Yeah, it's really a debate whether I should have actually come on today, but somebody else can figure that out. Here's the thing. When you take a look at what you're aiming at, one of the biggest projects I've been working on is frankly getting the Yldrbac Chronicles up and running. Now, I've now got 2 of 3 sites active. I am on Facebook, I am on LinkedIn, I'm on Twitter, and I've got rkeithandrews.com, and I just put up Yldrbac.com. Okay. In time, in the not too distant future, I will also be putting up innervoiceenterprises.com. But I gotta wait for a bit to do that. All in all, things are a little bit, shall we say, hectic. But in order to, lo and behold, welcome aboard. Today is, to say the least, a scramble job. Yesterday I ended up having to drop the live stream because of a phone call that came in. So today it really boils down to almost a rush job getting in here, because I did want to I did desire to explain to people that, look, the reason the call dropped is because I had a phone call come in that I had to absolutely take in order to start working on getting my books actually out and in the public view. Okay, so after all the money I've spent, and it's not about money for me. Okay, the reality of it is, where it comes to the Yldrbacian Chronicles, it's a question of getting the story out. Now, what I found is life itself is completely intertwined. Okay, I do not recall much of what was going on. We got so badly distracted yesterday. Tomorrow, when I come on, I'm going to do my level best to have an actual game plan in place before I actually get here. Today, it was just a question of, okay, I've got a few minutes to organize. So, when I talk about everything being interconnected, here I am doing a live stream. This works well for me to help get me centered. Now, I don't recommend it for everybody, but I do recommend that you take a sheet of paper and get a list of the chores or the tasks that you've got for yourself. Get them listed so that you can actually get things accomplished. Check them off as you go along, and really come to see that you're making headway. That you are getting things accomplished. Today has been an absolute shambles. And you'll notice that the start of this video didn't start out well at all, for a lot of reasons. Number one, wasn't prepared. However, the nice thing about this being a live stream is that life isn't always a question of being prepared. Okay, it really isn't. So what I've had to do is take a look at where my life was, at where things are going. And this is something that everybody goes through. Whether you're a pauper or a multi-billionaire, there are days that things do not go, shall we say, in a balanced fashion. So when I talk about setting your focus, I am literally talking about looking at the goals you've got. Today, when I get done this, I will be going on to Yldrbac.com, which I've just opened up as of yesterday, so it's still going to go through some modifications. Haven't really looked at it much today, primarily because I haven't really had the opportunity to. I ended up out running and doing a few errands and what have you that had to be dealt with. And now, well, here I am. Okay, yes, I'm going around in circles. So, first rule of thumb, get focused. Okay, take a look at where your life is right now. What's going on that you are personally not content with? For me, it really boils down to this. Okay, I've got to have my office is set up nicely for the most part. There are things that have to be modified, so I'll deal with that while I'm talking to you. Assuming, of course, I don't have my pen right here, so I'll go grab one. Nice part about it is I've actually got pens. I'm in an office, and amazingly, I've actually got my office organized to the point that I can get things done. What is today, the 5th? So, that takes care of that. Because, where are we here? We are currently at 2 o'clock PST. So the first thing I had to do to get things reorganized is really take a look at the situation and go, okay, Where am I standing? Well, first and foremost, I've got work I've got to deal with this afternoon. So I just set that in motion. So when I get done this recording, I can immediately log on. I won't be here long today for obvious reasons. Now, while I'm in the middle of writing the Yldrbacian Chronicles, and frankly, 18 books all at the same time. Yeah, I'm saying get focused. The focus is on the Chronicles. Okay, and I've got to drop a letter to two of my artists. Okay, that have to be dealt with today for exactly the same reason. But I play Dungeons and Dragons still. This is where I get a lot of my information for writing from. Now, here's something I turned around and did. Where is it? Not this figure. People ask me periodically about new figures I'm working with. Here we are. Pull that out of the way. And we go over here to, okay. Now here's what I did with one of the figures I've got. Okay. One of the figures I've got right now started out looking similar to this. You'll find the shape is obviously different. In Dungeons and Dragons, this is a fire elemental. Now, the neat part about it is I had to develop something else for the game that I'm currently running. As you can see, this figure when it comes in is clear. So I desired to make a new creature, a new encounter, a new adversary for the gaming crew I'm working with. Now, this would be a fire elemental. And yes, they are real entities as well. Okay, I know back in 2003, in Kelowna, BC, where I live, we had a massive fire that had us evacuate a third of the city. Okay, one of these little guys I've watched walk across the horizon. Okay, so have they, do they exist? The answer is yes. Okay, but I turned around, and here's the newest one. Okay, this was clear, just like the other one. Okay, the fire elemental is this. Okay, and all I did was this red one here would be classified as a water elemental, which again is actually a living entity. There was a very good picture or a very good movie came out years ago called The Abyss. And in The Abyss, it showed you a water elemental. Okay. Same thing as this, except for the fact the reason I painted this one red is because, and understand, we are talking about Dungeons and Dragons. Okay. So the entity here follows the same principle as water elementals. And if you play Dungeons and Dragons, I turned around and made this a little bit more of a nasty critter. The reason it's red is because I decided to make it into a blood elemental. Okay, still liquid, but it is now living blood, all of its own. Now understand, we are talking a fantasy game. Use your imagination. Okay, this particular entity, I extrapolated from the water elemental in order to give the characters a more complicated problem. Okay, so what I've done is by doing that, and we made some progression and some progress here. Here's a couple of others that I've been working on in the last couple of days. You've seen this one. Okay, as you can see, I've got a little more color to it. Still working on parts of it, which I'll probably, by the look of it, finish off today. Okay, I'm not a professional painter by any stretch, but this character I'm just about done dealing with. Okay, this is, by the way, another one of the Arborians. And then we have this little chap here, who is completed quite some time ago. This is an earth elemental. Okay, now if you watch the movie, the Never-Ending Story, okay, that's what you're looking at there. that big gentleman, the big chap that we saw, all made of stone. This is an earth elemental. And again, we are talking a fantasy game here, except for the fact that earth elementals do in reality exist. And when we take a look at this little book here, okay, this one you'll find on my website. You'll find, you can order it directly from me. Does include the information on what earth elementals are. Oh, let's not break that, shall we? So again, these are all things that are tied directly together. Okay, and clearly we are going to be a very short run today. But when I get off here, this is what's called trying to get too many things done all at the same time, which may give you an idea of just how hectic my day is going to be. Whoops. And where did I put it? In there. Today, as soon as I get off, as soon as I go in and log into work, I'll be working on this on the side. As you know, this is my hard copy for a lot of the information I'm writing into the Return to Paradise. By the way, the book and the front cover, well, in all fairness, both cover, the front, back, and spine cover for Where It All Began, which is the next book coming out, is already designed. Okay, so what I've had to do is go, I am a very small business right now, but I've decided and I've been guided towards telling people, towards picking one primary focus and making that happen. So that's where my real focus is going. Hopefully, by actually running and doing this live stream, even though it's, to say the least, a little scattered, hopefully it will help people get into track and miss some of the mistakes that I made. Okay, I've talked to a lot of independent writers, independent authors in the last little while, and they've all told me the same thing. Getting things out in the open. I had it actually confirmed yesterday. Apparently, there are approximately 1 million books printed and new books printed every year. Now, if this is the case, getting that spotted is going to be a royal problem. So what I've done is gone, okay, that's where my focus is going to be. So you can bet your bottom dollar I'm going to do my best to get organized on that one. Tomorrow, tomorrow sometime, I will be a whole lot more organized. That's just a commitment to me. And part of the reason I'm telling you this is because of the fact that if I don't force myself to get organized, how am I supposed to get anything accomplished? And it can be a royal pain. Okay. Oh, well, that's interesting. Okay, best be going in there and dealing with that. Just got another mail coming in that says I really have to get a look at things and make sure that I get back on track. It is possible I'm running out of insurance here, and I'm not entirely certain. But it does mean I best take a look at that. But when we're talking about getting focused, pick a direction and focus and move everything out of the way that is not assisting you in getting that on track. Okay, to say the least, I am not expecting a whole lot of reaction to this video. It's been, for me, it's been very, very hectic, very back and forth. But once you get an idea in your head that this is the direction you desire to go, it is absolutely critical that you turn around and make it happen. Put it down on paper, in point form even. You start with 3 different, well, technically you start with 1. Get 3 projects listed that are only 15 minutes to half an hour long each. And then start tagging them off one at a time. Now, if I take a look at my list here, okay, when I take a look at my list, I've actually got on it, I've actually got 38 things because of everything that I had to deal with. I just put them all down, and when I get done this, it is going to be a case of focus on clearing these tasks off and hopefully get things out of the way. My office is set up nicely. I've got no problem with that. Okay. But it boils down to really making certain that you get things set up when you've got a focus in mind. Make it happen. Get everything out of the way that is not helping you get that. Okay, now that doesn't mean throw things out. That means break the task down into 15-minute to half-hour tasks where possible and get them worked through. So you can check them off and say, okay, I finished it. I got this dealt with. Okay, that is the first step you've got to take at getting things moving in the right direction. Now, I was making a mistake before, and I started mentioning this yesterday, where I was gauging whether I was successful at what I was aiming at based on how many viewers I had, how many subscribers I had. Now, if this sounds like today goes to show beyond a shadow of a doubt, I am not absolutely on my game all the time. As a matter of fact, it's seldom I'm on my game all the time. But whenever you come off track, it's imperative, as the old saying goes, if you fall off the horse, get back in the saddle right away, as best you can. And the reason for that is so you can regain your footing, so you can carry on moving forward. Now, for me, this has been a real challenge, especially in the last couple of days. So I'm looking at this going, okay, I've got 38 different projects that I've got to deal with. Okay, and I will be checking them off as quick as I can. As effectively, I should say, as effectively as I can. The hard part with getting set and picking a direction is going, where is my priority? Where do I start? Well, where you start is the easy part. Wherever you are right this moment, whatever you're involved in, okay, that's where you start. Since you cannot change where you came from, you can't change anything that you've done in the past or anything that's happened in the past. All you can do is look to the president and say, okay, is this working? For me, the answer is no. So I've now got to organize things to make sure whatever is not working, like for instance, okay, I've got some hard copy stuff from here that has to be put to soft copy so I can start working on it. Okay, that is one of the first goals I've got to deal with. And of course, Chad, welcome aboard. Sorry about yesterday. It's just I got a phone call, and for the first time, the phone call that came in actually gave me some direct guidance as to where to start working on advertising, what have you. Okay, advertising, as I've mentioned, is not my strong suit. And of course, bearing in mind that I was looking at the past, and I was looking at everything around me going, how do I gauge if I'm being successful? And of course, I made the mistake of looking at my subscription levels and going, that's how you gauge whether you're successful or not. The reality is that is not the best way of doing it. Okay, when you take a look at it, when you're looking for success, you've got to look at what your target is. Are you getting that target? Are you working towards that? Have you eliminated the barriers that are not working? Okay, if the answer is yes, you've completed tasks that are working towards your overall goal, then frankly, in my eyes, you're being successful at that point. Now, what I'm looking at here is quite literally just taking a look to see where I'm standing as soon as it can work. There we are. Now I made the mistake of going, okay, the number of subscriptions that I've got are what tell me whether I'm successful. The reality of it is that success is determined in your eyes, not in mine. Okay, I can't tell if you're being successful. All I can tell you is whether I am, in my eyes. But what will tell you if you're being successful, if you laid a goal out for yourself, even if that goal is just getting the dishes done. Okay, you get the dishes done, that is a success. I look at it in the morning and go, if I wake up and I'm still breathing, that's a success. Because rest assured, in my world, that's an oddity a lot of the time. So yesterday when I was on, I was looking at how do you tell whether or not, how do you know whether or not you're actually making headway? What is this one? Yeah. We started off yesterday looking at assessing your current lot in life. Are you content with where you are? And Chad, it's funny. I look at what you're doing and go, if you're content with what you're doing, then quite frankly, you're being successful. I'm looking at my lot in life right now and my focus and going, I've got things really off track. And who's to blame? I can point my finger at anybody. So can you. You can point your finger at anybody you desire to. Okay, and blame anyone on the planet for what you're going through. Okay, now the sad part here is, I know in your case, Chad, I've mentioned to you that I'm trying to get the time to actually get on to listen into your podcast. My schedule gets absolutely stupid sometimes, which really does boil down to trying to get organized and make time out for it. Because the reality for me is I can, in fact, sit down and while I'm listening to a podcast, I can work on other projects at the same time. Heck, half the time when I'm on Spaced Out Radio, which, by the way, what day are we on here? Spaced Out. Oh, I'm just looking for what day today is, and of course, it doesn't want to cooperate. When you know it, can't even get my calculator to do that. Okay, today is 5th, so in 2 days I'll be on Spaced Out Radio. But you can bet your bottom dollar, while I'm Spaced Out Radio, I've got other things I'm thinking of. That's just the reality behind the way my life works. And that's all. From your standpoint, and it is something I look for. If I'm getting positive feedback, this is great. For me, I use a lot of this time to really help get my own head on straight. To make sure I'm on the right track. Now, I do not do a lot of research. I ran into an interesting problem just the other day. And I didn't even think fast enough to get the physical proof of it. But my ATM card for my business, without damaging the plastic card itself. I've always talked about my electrical field being really high and really off kilter. Well, I went to the bank and found out my bank card, I had physically burnt the chip. Didn't damage the card, didn't damage any of the other cards in my wallet. But the chip itself on my ATM card was physically fried. Now, the poor bank teller, he just looks at it and goes, how did you even manage to do that? I can't even begin to explain it in common terms. Okay. But as per usual, I didn't think about it and I let the card get destroyed. So I don't even have the physical proof there. So I'm looking at where I'm standing right now and going, okay, today I've got a couple of things I've got to deal with, not the least of which is that I've got this whole list of different things, of different tasks that I've got to get dealt with. such as updating my hard copy, because all of my passwords, I do not keep them on the computer. I keep them stored written on hard copy, and there's a viable reason for that. It's so that the only way anybody's going to get to my passwords. Honestly, professional hackers can find them. The government can find them. There's no question there. This is why when people ask, well, why don't you hide where you are? Well, because before Donald Trump became president, he had a dossier on me, a complete dossier on what I was up to start with. And then the CIA turned around showing up on my doorstep here in Kelowna, BC, looking for me by name regarding UFO information. So the way I figure it, people know where I am already. Okay. And it's been a real challenge, but for me to get things moving, for me to get the Yldrbac Chronicles up and running properly, I've got to start pushing the advertising on it to just get, and I don't mean go out and say, hey, buy my book, it's the best on the planet. In all fairness, it isn't. It is the best one I've written. Okay, where it comes to science fiction, science fantasy, the Yldrbac Chronicles is the best one I've written, in my opinion. Okay, and I am in the process of modifying things, but I've got emails I've got to send out. And again, these are on my list of things to get done today. Okay, because they have to get out of the way if I'm going to actually get ahead. Okay, sooner or later things happen. I'm still working full time. I just absolutely nearly had a coronary yesterday. No, this morning. I was expecting money from the government and ended up better than doubling what I was expecting. Which I'll tell you, between it at this point, I don't have to worry about my income, about my rent now, because with my disability and the tax credits and what have you, my rent is covered. I am still working full time. I am still looking at getting the books out running. And where to go? This character, and this is another one of the ones I was recently working on. This is the newest character that I've been painting for a game of Dungeons and Dragons I'm playing. This guy I just finished tying off. Yeah. And he's complete at this point. So I can put him aside now and focus on the other ones. This one I just started working on. Right, as you can see, if I hold that up, you can see just down on his waistline there, his loincloth is being painted. Okay, he's going to take some time. But these are all part and parcel. One of the things I've had to do is start picking out characters that actually fit, that I can work with, while I'm writing out combat scenes. Which, didn't see you come in there, Nightmare. Welcome aboard. Glad you could join us. Sad to say, today is going to be a very short day. And I don't have any functional choice with it. Okay. Yesterday got completely scrambled. But this is why I say setting your focus is absolutely critical in getting ahead. For me, it's a question of, okay, I've scattered myself all over the place. Now it's time to rein it in and go, where am I heading with this? One of the biggest tricks one of the things that I've got to find a way to do, is I'm going to be taking some time, the new website that I just opened, Yldrbac.com. I am looking at a way of getting recordings put on that particular spot. Whether they're vocal, whether they're video or not, I don't know. I think I still have a program on my computer that called Audacity. I think I still have, because I still haven't got the camera working, aside from recording it live and putting it up on, literally going live on YouTube. Okay. But you pick where you're standing. Are you content with where you currently are? in my case, I know where I'm standing. I know I'm not content with where I currently am. Okay, and therefore it is up to me, not anybody else. I mean, I really appreciate you guys joining me when you get the chance. But, I tried the idea of advertising ahead of time and saying I'm going to be on at this point or just coming on live and seeing what happens. And, for me, whether I wasn't doing it right in the way of forewarning people is anybody's guess. But it didn't show a real viable difference in the number of people that were showing up. So I just looked at it and went, okay, enough is enough. Okay, I'll just run it the way that I know works. When I've got time, come on and talk about whatever. Now, again, this is a question of focus. I know what I'm aiming at because I look at it. I'm 59 right now. Okay, I have decided. I got the paperwork the other day to apply for my CPP, and it told me I could get my CPP at 60, or I could wait until I'm 70 and get double that. But in either event, it still will not be enough to cover my expenses. So I just decided I'm going after it for my next birthday. Okay, as a matter of fact, that's one of the things on my list is to fill that out and send it in so that I can absolutely get it done right. Okay, as a matter of fact, come to think of it, my accountant is probably the best person to talk to. So I'll deal with them. They've got a good connection with I found out everything they told me about my finances, about my income tax and what have you. They got it all balanced out for the first time in like 40 years here. Everything's up to date, and now things are starting to move properly. So it stands to reason I found somebody that can do the job. Okay, that can do what I require. And now it's just one step at a time. But where it comes to staying focused, okay, I am so spread out right now that I really have to bring myself together and say, okay, I really have to bring myself together and start chalking things off. Absolutely get them completed. Now, I was supposed to make 2 phone calls today that didn't pan out quite that well because I got pulled in another direction due to circumstance. But it was neat. And, absolutely, if you guys have any insight into this, I was told by the gentleman I was talking to yesterday that putting out my name and the links on Amazon, Google, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, okay, of which I've got access to all of those. And then they said you might want to get on Instagram as well in order to create a little bit more visibility, because the reality is that the more people that know that I'm out here, that the books I've written are available, the more likely they are to buy them. The best books in the world. Chad, your podcast, I don't know, in all fairness, I don't know what your numbers are looking like. But I can tell you this. Okay, if you're content with with what your podcast is doing, that's the mark of whether or not you're being successful. Not based on the numbers that are showing up. Certainly look at the numbers. Like I take a look at Dave Scott on Spaced Out Radio. Now, I've been with him for over 7 years at this point. Okay, I've only been on my own for a year. Okay, but I am happy with what I'm looking at. I am happy with what I'm looking at in the way of I'm up to, I think, 300 right now or 301. Where are we here? Let us go. That is an excellent question. So we go on to there and we take a look at the actual stream and see what we've got. Go to my channel. Yeah, I'm seeing at 301, which is, from my standpoint, absolutely amazing. Now, I've looked at, where are we here? Go back to the other screen because can't see that. Well, thank you very much, Chad. Absolutely, this is a marker, but it's got to be a question of take a look at what's going on. Okay. And I was looking at it going, I need these numbers to come up. No, I don't. Because the neat part about it, I mean, I do, yes. The neat part about it is when I got looking at my dashboard the other day, okay, I may only be on for a couple hours, but it turns out people are looking at it and they are seeing what's going on. I have had some positive feedback, which, like you, Chad, is very much important to me. Okay, to ensure that what I'm doing is being well received. The last thing I want to do, well, almost, is to say things and put anybody down. Okay, do I have my opinions? Can I get a little carried away on occasion? Certainly. But then everybody has their strengths and weaknesses. Okay, for me, it boils down to a very simple issue. I've made a number of mistakes, and one of the biggest ones I made where it came to finances is I listened to so-called professional financial advisors. These financial advisors guided me into bankruptcy twice. Okay, both cases were absolutely stupid. The only people that benefited from those two bankruptcies were the bankruptcy trustees, because I didn't pay the bills that I owed, that I legitimately took on, and the companies I owed the money to didn't get paid either. But you can bet your bottom dollar the bankruptcy trustee that guided me into it, in both cases, they got paid for their work. So what I came to understand is bankruptcy, if there is any way around it, find it. Okay. Now, I went further into depth than I have in the past, but here's one of the things I found out. If while you're watching your finances, check them and check your money at the beginning of the month, check your money at the end of the month. If you're 1 penny above what you had at the beginning of the month, you're heading in the right direction. Now, this means you have to stay focused on what is working for you. Okay. So I'm looking at it now going, okay, I've got money that I can sink onto my credit card and wipe the balance out. So it will be putting on as soon as I get done here. I do it right now, but I tend to get a little scattered when I'm trying to do passwords and what have you. You really don't want to screw that up while you're going online. So I figure I'll just wait until afterwards and then make other things happen. Okay. But until then, it's a question of make sure you take a look at where you are. Okay. I'm looking at this going, what I'm going to start with on Yldrbac.com. There's a way for me to start putting posts up to say, okay, this is where I'm standing. This is what's going on. Meet the characters and where they came from. Okay. By looking at that, you meet the characters, where they came from, what kind of people they are, where they are heading. Like, these are all things just to let people know this is a group of people. Now, I write a lot of different stuff, but science fiction, science fantasy, that is where my primary focus is. I've got 10 more books in that saga to bring to light, and once it's done, I've got 2 coming out right behind it, already in line. But they can't come out until the first 10 are out, until the first 12 are done. So now what I'm looking at is, okay, get focused. Well, the focus is this: get the entire saga written, get all of the stuff set up, get it in print as quick as I can, or more to the point, as efficiently as I can. And even at 1 book a year, okay, I'm looking at these books taking another 10 years to get completed. This is a big goal, okay, which means I'm going to be writing until I drop dead. Because if you think about it, I'm 59 now. By the time I get finished writing the Yldrbacian Chronicles, I'll be 69, roughly. Okay, and if I don't get my tail feathers in gear, that won't be the case. But the nice part is my local printer, I was talking to her, and what she said was she's going to be in business for at least another 15 years. Now, from my standpoint, this works out beautifully. I can get the whole thing set up and done and imprint properly so that I can make sure things happen. Okay. So I will be quite content there. And what I'm going to end up doing is, as I go along, stockpile books so that I've got an inventory I can keep running with. That's just the way it's going to be. But this is one of those things about picking a focus and going that direction. I've got the figures I'm working on. These are the ones I'm painting right now. This one I've got some color already started on. And I'll be adding, this is a storm giant. And I'll be adding more color to him and completing him as well. I've got this one shelf that I've got figures on. I'm right now actively painting. I've got another one up a little higher that has the figures that are from the Yldrbac Chronicles for laying things out. Okay, and again, if you take a look on the counter behind me here, no, I'm in the way. Sort of. That's my painting desk over there. And yes, it has a garbage can sitting on it right now. But that's because I was actually cleaning the floor. I was vacuuming the floor today and had to put it somewhere while I did. Again, it boils down to getting the energy moving in the right direction. How do you stay focused? Well, there's only one way I know of to do that. Pick a direction, and anything that is not working towards that outcome, get it straightened out, get it off track, get it put back on track. Now, I am so grateful you guys showed up to join me, but because of the fact I have to log into work, I'm going to tie this off, and I will be a whole lot more organized for tomorrow. But until then, do take care of yourselves and each other, and for pity's sakes, stay positive.